Before I start this video, I just want to give you a disclaimer that this is purely my opinion, and this is based on what I've observed in and around me, mostly in India. If if you happen not to be from India and still able to relate this, then I think it's just a mindset problem of the older generation. I'm 31, I'm a millennial, and I think this would mostly apply to a certain set of millennials and mostly to Gen Z. So I think if you fall into that category, I think this is the best video for you. So even before I begin with what I'm about to say, that what I've titled for this video is government jobs versus game dev. You guys let me know if it's accurate title what I'm about to say. I think it also applies to a lot of other jobs in general. So yeah, so before getting into that, let me just tell you like how times have changed. So back, if you're a millennial or a Gen Z, your parents might be born somewhere around, I'm just like guessing, somewhere around in 1990, in 1950s, I mean late 1950s to early 2000, early 80s, I guess. That's what I'm assuming. And they would have a certain mindset because of how India was back then. The population was less, not a lot of people were educated, and it was very easy to get a government job comparatively, where, I mean, in today's day and age, we are the most populated country in the world with 1.4 billion population. Competition is very intense. So, and as a society, the kind of society that we are mostly people pleasers, as in we tend to seek validation from our parents first. Like if they're happy, I'm happy. I think that's the majority of India that I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And in this process, what happens is we tend to like we don't do justice to ourselves. We don't pursue things that we like. I think if you're good at something, you don't pursue that because of obvious things, like comparisons, and if you have not taken a science stream, probably we have taken something else, and if you're not becoming an engineer or a doctor, that would, I mean, okay, that's the one case. But then if you don't apply for certain kind of jobs, like if you're not like doing anything related to the government, probably your parents will not be able to be happy. You'll not be able to please them. And the reason you will not be able to please them is because they have a set of friends, or whenever they have a chat, they want to go back and tell their friends, my son is working at SBI or certain bank, and even if it's not a bank, probably they are happy if you either go abroad, or if you decide to stay in India, if you're like working in like these well-known companies like TCS, Tech Mahindra, which are which resonate everywhere. Like everybody knows that these are big companies that exist. But if you're trying to do anything remotely different in today's day and age, and 2023, you will be called out, and your parents will not approve what you're doing. I can relate to this because I've been a part of that, and I mean at this point I really don't. I mean, they've kind of understood what I'm trying to do here, and they're kind of okay with it. But if you're someone who's watching this, and if you're unable to, I'm just speaking from the context of game dev, if you're unable to convince your parents to let you pursue game dev, there are two things that you can do. First thing is become a rebel and just carry on with yourself. Uh, the first thing is a little bit tough. You also have to disregard and accept the fact that no matter what you do, you will not be able to please your parents because times have changed. And second thing is you probably just give up on your dream. If it's not game dev, if it's anything else, like if you want to start a business, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to open a restaurant or something, but then it will be perceived as cheap in society's eyes, or something that that's not fancy, that does not give you privilege in the society. I don't know, you do want to open a boutique, or I don't know, whatever. It's also the other reason that if your job is not fancy enough, you might not get married because nobody knows about it. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. I think I had to tell you the second point. Second point is probably you just have to accept. You try to please your parents and then spend years and years in just preparing for these government exams. If you're really good at academics and you're able to clear it in the first go, then stop watching this video. I think there's nothing relevant for you. But let us say you've put your heart and soul in studying for an exam. You're really good at academics. I wasn't good at academics, but if you are good at academics and you feel things aren't going the way you want them to, you don't have privilege of any reservations in the country, which are still affecting a lot of people, I think then you'll be miserable. Your parents will also be miserable because they have a certain kind of expectation from you. And you're just giving years and years to these government jobs, which are where the odds are not in your favor. The playing field is not level because there are a lot of biases of reservations and a lot of other things that are beyond your control, no matter how hard you studied. Your parents will keep on telling you, oh, my back in my days, I cleared it because of this. They will not regard the fact that times have changed. Back in their generation, or back in their days, I think competition was less, and it wasn't this intense because times were different, and they will not acknowledge this. You should also not be seeking any kind of advice from your parents. Reason being, times have changed. They don't know anything about the modern society. If you do not change with the times, you will perish. The most accurate example for this is probably the Nokia phones, which I think if you go back 2 decades, they were the more, or not 2 decades, probably a decade and a half, 15 years. They were top-notch phones. Everybody, Nokia was leading, and just because they could not innovate or change with times, they have been crushed. They do not even exist anymore. It's something similar with jobs as well. I have many friends who passed out of college. By the way, I've passed out of college in 2015, who are academically really sound. They're a lot better than me. They never had a backlog in engineering or anything. But I wouldn't use the word ruined their life, because they still prep for these government exams. They do have a lot of knowledge. It's just that they're unable to utilize it somewhere. And what happens is they have this bias, they have this perception of the world as unfair because they've been academically really sound, doing really well in their college and during their education times, and now they are still prepping for that exam. which they are unable to clear, it's not their fault, because it's just like some godly amount of marks that they require to clear, plus they might not have some kind of reservation. They don't want to be looked down as, a failure because they don't have the capability to clear that exam, probably. But trust me, if you're the one that you're watching this, it's not you. This is like, I've seen a lot of, like, they've had really good marks in their 12th and engineering. They couldn't clear because of a lot of reasons. So what my point with this video is, like, if you're prepping up for government jobs, just like set a deadline, like 2 years max or like a year max, and then if you can't crack it, don't waste your time there. Take another opportunity, like look for something else. Always have a plan B. A lot of people are completely clueless if one gate closes and they don't know what else to do. I was one of that. Fortunately, I became a game dev and started my own game studio, which also took a lot of time. But if you're in that kind of path, please make sure that you have a plan B and prepare for that. I don't want to extend this video. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I think those who can relate to this, just let me know if I make sense at all or not. I hope for whoever is going down this path, it's a lot helpful for them, whatever I've just ranted out. And thanks for watching.